رمضان كريم.
The Higgledy-Piggledy Palace. In the deserts of the east lived a beautiful woman named Sarah. She was so beautiful that when she and her husband Abraham traveled the bazaars, silence would fall at the very sight of her. Crowds would part, people would faint clean away at her wondrous beauty. Even animals were spellbound by her radiance. One morning, as Sarah and Abraham approached the bustling city of the Egyptian Pharaoh, Abraham fell to his knees to pray. He knew that the Pharaoh had a harem of 30 wives, and he feared that when the guards saw Sarah, they'd seize her. But when Abraham opened his eyes, he saw a large wooden crate. His prayer had been answered. Wasting no time, Abraham gathered his belongings and shortly afterwards set off for the city gates. There he presented himself with his camels, his wares, and a very large, very heavy wooden crate. Guards were stationed at the gates to collect taxes, and they demanded to know what was in Abraham's crate. Barley? But the guards were suspicious. Barley attracted the lowest tax, and they thought he was trying to cheat them. All right, it is wheat. For wheat had a higher tax, and he knew the guards were after as much money as they could get. But the guards said the crate was too heavy to be wheat. Gold, Abraham tried. Precious stones. Whatever has the highest tax, I will pay. What could be so valuable that Abraham was willing to pay so much to keep it hidden, the guards wondered. One of them reached out with his spear and prized open the crate. Inside, of course, crouching low, they discovered the beautiful Sarah. As soon as they saw her, the guards nearly fainted. Immediately, they seized both husband and wife and took them to the palace. At the sight of Sarah's beauty, the Pharaoh went weak at the knees, his eyes crossed, his heart nearly pounded out of his chest. He must have her for his wife. He demanded to know who Abraham was, and fearing the truth might bring harm to her husband, Sarah said,
"He is my brother."
The Pharaoh smiled. He ordered Abraham to be taken to his best chamber and lavished with treasures, food, wine, precious clothing, all as thanks for delivering him such a gift as beautiful as Sarah. But Abraham cared nothing for such gifts. He was sick of heart. All he could do was pray. Sarah, too, was lavished with treasures, and then a knock at the door. "It is I, my love," the Pharaoh called. But as he entered the room, Sarah shrank back. The Pharaoh begged her not to be afraid, but Sarah ducked and weaved between the palace columns. Soon the Pharaoh tired of the chase and reached harshly for her hand. By now, though, Sarah was no longer afraid. She, too, prayed. As if, in answer to her prayers, Sarah saw a cloaked spirit rise up behind the Pharaoh. It was holding a large club, and as the Pharaoh pulled Sarah towards him, the spirit brought the club down sharply right across the Pharaoh's back. The Pharaoh reeled, but when he looked behind him, he saw nothing. The spirit was invisible to him. Not wanting to look foolish, the Pharaoh shouted at Sarah, "I am the king of Egypt, and you will be my wife." The spirit then hit him again, and as the Pharaoh stumbled about the room, striking him with every step, unable to escape the blows, the Pharaoh screamed out in panic, "Guards, take this witch from me!" After Sarah was gone, the Pharaoh crept to his bed, but as soon as he lay down, the spirit lifted the side of the bed and sent him sprawling to the floor. Perplexed, the Pharaoh tried to rest on a chair, on a stool, even on a rug. In a fit of panic, he ran out into the halls, but there was no comfort here either. The floors writhed and rose up to trip him. Even the walls squeezed in towards him. The whole building became a gigantic higgledy-piggledy palace. He called for Abraham. "Brother of Sarah, what will it take to be rid of you and your cursed sister?" Abraham wanted no riches other than his wife. Reunited, the happy couple departed the city. As they did so, Abraham gave the Pharaoh a friendly piece of advice. "Let what happened be a sign. You should treat all people with respect and courtesy." Sarah and Abraham returned to the desert and lived together in great happiness. As for the Pharaoh, he could never step into bed without shuddering at the memory of the beauty who had turned his home into the most higgledy-piggledy palace you could ever see anywhere.